Hi guys and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to do a reading update, which basically means I'm going to talk about all the books I read in February and March, since I didn't do any proper February wrap-up. And I have a lot of them that I want to talk about today, so without further ado, let's get into it. So first I wanted to talk about two books that I don't have with me. The first one is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I read it on my Kindle, I don't have a physical copy of it. I heard so many great things about this book all around the bookish community and especially on Instagram, so when I heard that it was going to be a movie, I decided that I had to read the book before the movie was out. If you don't know what this is about, it's about a virtual reality and a quest in this virtual reality to basically find something that's hidden and save the world. Basically, that's some sort of kind of this plot. Anyway, I wrote a review of it on my blog. If you want it, I will link it in the description. I gave 5 out of 5 stars to this book. Honestly, I was afraid it was going to be a bit overrated, but it totally wasn't. I absolutely loved it. I would definitely recommend it, and I'm definitely going to see the movie. Second book I don't have, is actually All of This Is True by Lydia de Peñaflor. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I remember the name correctly, this is really bad. It's a book that's going to be released in May, and I have been part of the book tour in France. One of my Twitter friends got a copy of the book and sent it around to other bloggers. I haven't posted anything about it yet because I'm really waiting for the release date to be closer, but basically it's a story about friendships between authors and their readers, and lots of drama, and it's a really amazing book. I will talk about it more later on my blog, and I will let you know about it because you really need to check out this book. It was fantastic, and I also gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Now onto the pile I have next to me. This is only a small part of it because I can't carry everything, otherwise it's going to fall. Anyway, here I have a French book I got for my birthday because I was looking forward to reading other books by this author who is called Nathalie Azoulay. I studied one of her short stories in my thesis last year. This book is called Titus Didn't Love Berenice, and it's based on a play by Racine about the story of Titus and Berenice, which it comes from ancient Roman mythology. Anyway, I got the book signed by the author at the Paris Book Fair because I was reading it at the moment and she was there, so I wanted to get it signed. And basically I thought this was going to be some sort of retelling, but it was actually mostly the story of Racine, the author of the play in the 17th century, and I was kind of disappointed because I wasn't expecting to read his biography, and I gave the book 3 out of 5 stars. Extremely well written, which is one of the good things about it, but honestly I wish I had liked this book more, but I just didn't. Now I have a book I read from one of my classes. It's a classic and it's The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. It's a story about poor families in 1940s Ohio, and about basically following black families and how they struggle, and lots of problems and racism, and it is such a great book. I really wanted to read books by Toni Morrison because I hadn't read any of her books, and now I have, and it was fantastic. I also did an oral presentation about an extract from the beginning of the book. Anyway, this is so fascinating and I really recommend it. I give it 4 or 5 stars, can't remember, but it was really great and I'm really glad I read it. Now I have a book that I found out through booktubes. I heard Ariel Bissett and Jessie the Reader talk about it, and I definitely wanted to read it, so I ordered it. It's called Still Like an Artist by Austin Kleon, and it's about what it's like to be an artist and find inspiration. And one of the things that I found most amazing is when he said that you should surround yourself with interesting people and never be the smartest person in the room, because otherwise it's boring. Anyway, this book was fantastic. I especially loved the first half because I could relate to it more, and I would definitely recommend it if you like being creative and consider yourself an artist. I gave it absolutely 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I have is another classic which I read for my class on African American literature. It's the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. I honestly hadn't heard about this book before because we don't really talk about American literature in our literature classes in France. But when I heard we're gonna study it in this class, I knew I had to pick it up. It was really interesting, extremely well written. It's quite a quick read actually. I thought it would be longer, but it's really short. And it's about Frederick Douglass, who escaped slavery and became an advocate for the end of slavery. And I would definitely recommend this book because it's a short read, it's a classic, and it's important to read it. The next book I have actually two. I'm just going to talk about them at the same time. It's The Frozen Woman, and I can't remember the name in English. It's Empty Storage Rooms or something. Anyway, by Annie Ernaux, which is one of the authors I'm studying for my thesis this year. If I'm remembering correctly, this one is a fiction and this one is a non-fiction by an author who mostly wrote non-fiction. And they're both amazing. I just love this author and her writing style, and reading more of her books makes me discover how her style evolved, and it's so interesting. So if any of those has been translated into your language, then I would definitely recommend them, and I both gave them 4 or 5 stars, I believe, which is always a rating I give to her books. Now, the next one I have is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I finally finished this book after a month of setting it aside. I absolutely loved it. It's the sequel to Six of Crows, following a group of outlaws on a dangerous mission, and it's absolutely fantastic. Honestly, I think I just left it aside because I just didn't want the story to end, and now it's over. And I'm like, why? Because it was fantastic and I just want to read more about those characters. Anyway, it was amazing. It's quite chunky, which is why I couldn't always carry it with me. I even tabbed some quotes because they deserve to be tabbed because they're fantastic. And if you haven't read this duology, I would also definitely recommend it. The next book I have is a book I got for another one of my classes. It's a collection of plays by Guillaume Apollinaire. I studied the second one for one essay in this particular class. And it's a surrealist play. It's really strange but well written and interesting, and it's something I had never heard about, so you know, I found something new and it's great. Next book I have is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Renée Edelodge. I had heard a lot about this book on Instagram, which is why I wanted to check it. It's about racism in the UK, and I'm so glad I read it. As you can see, I tabbed a lot of pages and quotes. It was so interesting and smart, and also kind of depressing about our society, but I believe this book is super important and I would definitely recommend it to you. And I might be meeting the author next week in one of my favorite bookshops. To be followed. It's not sure what's gonna happen, but if it does happen, I will talk to you about it because she's such an interesting person and she wrote such a great book. You have to read it. You have to read it. What I do have next is another French classic. It's by Marcel Proust, who wrote Searching for Lost Time. Actually, I was planning on reading all of his books because they were definitely recommended to me by many people. I finished the first book of the first volume, which is called Cambrai, which is the name of the town, and I'm not gonna read any further, at least for now. So yeah, it was, at first I thought it was really well written, and then I just got disappointed and I didn't really like it. I mean, it's a classic, so I'm glad I gave it a try, but I'm not going any further with this book. Next, I have this Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This has been on my shelves for quite some time because I really love Victoria Schwab, and I finally read it. I absolutely loved it, gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The premise of this book is, what if violence created monsters? And it's a story about one of these monsters and a human girl who both feel like they don't belong. It's absolutely incredible, so well written and a quick read, and what I'm looking for is the title page because I met Victoria Schwab at the Paris Book Fair and I got the book signed. She was absolutely adorable and I'm so glad I finally read this book and I can't wait to pick the second part of the duology. I have another new release here. It's The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one by Amanda Lovelace. It's a poetry book about lots of important matters such as feminism and abuse and growing up a woman, and it's fantastic. It's a new release and I absolutely loved her previous book, so I knew I had to pick it up. I absolutely loved it. I just don't know what else to say. It's really my type of poetry, the kind that I like, and I just totally dig this one as well. I wonder if I liked it better than the previous one, but I would have to reread it, you know. I have it, so I can do that, and I will maybe talk about it more if I have more to say about it. Obviously gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely recommend it if you're into poetry. Now, what I have here is a bunch of comic books. And the first one is my most recent read. It's Wonder Woman Volume 4 by Brian Azzarello. If I'm correct, the title in English is War. And it basically is a Wonder Woman story about saving the world from evil gods, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's the 4th volume in the series. I've read the previous ones a few months ago. I was looking for this one everywhere, and now that I've finally found it, I'm wondering if I will be able to find the next volumes. But anyway, it was fantastic. I would definitely recommend it. Next, I have another comic book, which is called Huck by Mark Miller. It's actually not mine. I need to return it to my friend. It's about a superhuman, super being, superhero who is super kind, super strong, and loves helping people. It's just both very moving and adorable, and I would definitely recommend it. I believe it can be read as a standalone, so that's also great because it's not often the case with comic books, and I would definitely recommend it. And to end finally this bookish update, I have 2 Star Wars comic books. This one about Princess Leia, and this one that I picked up because Princess Leia was on the cover. I know I'm so biased towards her. Anyway, it takes place around the events of the A New Hope and the next one, I believe. I really enjoyed both of them. I love the drawings, and I would definitely recommend them if you like Star Wars. Finally, I have 3 books that I'm currently reading, which are Outlander, that I will definitely finish someday. I finally made some progress in it, also got it signed at the Paris Book Fair. I'm so happy about it. Then I have a book from Italian literature. I know the title in Italian, it's L'amica geniale. I can't remember the title in English, something about the amazing friend, by Elena Ferrante, and it's really interesting so far. I'm quite curious about it. I heard so many things about this book, so I wanted to check it out. Here I am. I will let you know my thoughts when I finished. And finally, I have Beloved by Toni Morrison, which I'm also reading from one of my classes. I'm quite confused so far, but I'm not really far into the book. I will have to finish it soon, and I will let you know my thoughts when I get there. Anyway, it's been so long since I finally posted some kind of reading updates, so that was a long ride. But I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my videos. And I guess I'll see you around. Bye!